So coming into the market day, we were watching a very key 14,800 level on the NASDAQ futures. I was looking this morning for us to push into that level, reject that level, and look to see if I could find some rejections off that key supply. So this morning, we got that push to the upside, and alongside that move with the NASDAQ, we also got the push to the upside into a very key level on NVIDIA, and I was starting to formulate a short side play on NVIDIA using that NASDAQ 14.8 level as a confluence, using that as a way to look for a potential rejection. I have this entire trade recorded live. I want to share it with you guys in today's video, talk you through how I entered into these puts using that 14,800 level on the NASDAQ as my guide for an entry point. Now you guys can probably see later today as I'm making this video, the NASDAQ did break that 14,800 level and it also retested and held that level. And because of this, I am holding a few long positions overnight. I'll go ahead and recap the positions that I'm holding overnight due to this NASDAQ hold towards the end of today's video. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. Make sure to press that like button, subscribe to the channel after watching it. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So guys, this video is going to start here on the 15-minute chart on the NASDAQ futures. And if you've been following along with any of the levels that I've been providing on the live streams, you're probably familiar with the 14,800 level on the NASDAQ futures. Over the last few days, we've taken some really nice shorts at this supply level. You guys can see we had previous support, previous double bottoms at 14.8, which on Tuesday, intraday, turned into a rejection. On Wednesday, yesterday, turned into a beautiful rejection. And even this morning, we got a little bit of a pump towards that 14.8, and we rejected. Now, this push higher today is where I caught those NVIDIA puts and where I caught that downside due to that NASDAQ rejection. Now, we can see the market right now, which we'll talk about towards the end of this video. You can see the market ended up holding, pushing above into our supply at 14,950, retesting, and look at how it was able to hold that level here towards close today. Now, we'll get more into this later, but that break and retest hold above the previous rejection points is a reason for me to try some long entries overnight. Of course, we still have some supply above, but this is an interesting trend change here on the market. We haven't been able to get above this 14.8 for the last few days. We were able to break above it today. So a little bit of an interesting change there on the NASDAQ. I'll get more into that after we talk about this NVIDIA trade. So this morning on NVIDIA, this is what we were looking at. We were watching this very key 430 level. We had some previous lows at this 430 level. You guys can see right here, this is back from last week. Multiple support bounces off 430. Now, as we tried to push closer to that 430 level this week, we continued to see these rejections step in. So coming into this morning, I was looking to see if I could have a 14.8 push on the NASDAQ, see if there's a rejection, and line that up with a push up into this 430 area on NVIDIA and line that up with the NASDAQ, looking for the downside off 430 on NVIDIA with the 14.8 rejection on the NASDAQ. That was my game plan, and I wanted to make sure that I executed that game plan if I saw it set up. So if I go to the 5-minute chart here on NVIDIA, we can see this morning we pushed straight up into that 430 level. This is at the same time the NASDAQ was pushing up into 14.8, and I started to see that 14.8 weakness, and I started to see that 430 rejection on NVIDIA. As this was pushing higher, I was adding to my short position, looking for that 430 rejection and using that 430 level as my stop loss. I recorded this trade live. You'll hear how I entered it with the group, sort of keeping the position small as I was entering, and once it started to work for me, adding into it and taking advantage of that rejection point at 430. All right, I'm starting to get interested on NVIDIA here. I want to see what it does up here. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Big level above here on NVIDIA. Stop over 430. It's a next week contract. I'm risking maybe $100. So let's see what, I think the NASDAQ probably has maybe 14.8 in it, possibly. 14.8 will decide whether this push continues or we stall out. That'll be the deciding factor. Okay, I'll add one on NVIDIA there. All right, so still holding NVIDIA. This is where, things are going to start to get interesting here. I will not long anything if the NASDAQ's under 14.8. That's all that matters to me here. Starting to see some weakness here. 43.25. Okay, this is the moment of truth, really. What happens up here? NVIDIA, I like my entry. So we'll see if we get it. That's really all we can do now. Do we get it? I enjoy the entry I'm in. I like where I'm entering at. I like my average. All the thoughts of ripping higher, all the thoughts of us going higher are all invalidated because you're thinking about us going higher right into 14.8. It's that thought is not aligning with what the market has shown us. Now, that doesn't mean you have to trade the rejection. I understand that. If you don't like it, then don't play it. But the thought process there is not valid because you're thinking we're going to go higher right into a supply level that's rejected 5 times this week. So I would rather trust the levels than trust what your mind is telling you. Right? Your mind may think you're going higher because the market went green though for the last 20 minutes, but that doesn't mean anything. If you got some green here, maybe take a little off. I've been scaling out of my NVIDIA short terms. I might scale, if I get a decent move today, I might scale out of some of the swings as well on NVIDIA. I don't want to risk too much overnight. The market still is pretty questionable here. So now I want to quickly do a recap of what's going on here on the NASDAQ. The market is still open. We have about 15 minutes until close. And there is a very key thing to be watching here into close, and that is whether the NASDAQ can hold on to this 14.8 level into the end of day. We can see we've had some previous multiple support bounces off 14.8, as I talked about earlier in this video. And we've also had some very nasty rejections off this level. So for me, if the NASDAQ can maintain back above these rejections, that is a break and retest for potential long entries. Now, it's not a 100% certainty trade, right? It's a trade off a technical level. This trade here on a long off 14.8 is a little bit of a short-term idea, right? We still have some supply above here at 14,950 and around this 15,020. But this is a different characteristic today on the NASDAQ. We have not seen us be able to get above this level for the last 3 trading days. This is the first time we were able to break above 14.8 and hold above 14.8. We're going to have to see if this can hold on into close. If it does, I plan to swing some QQQ overnight. I plan to see if we can get some upside off this 14.8. I'm taking some next week contracts, so I have a little bit of time on this position. But I'm going to look to long this off 14.8, using that as my stop loss, just playing off a very clear technical move here. We can see we had previous rejections at 14.8. We had previous support there as well. Right here, we can see we broke it, we retested it, and if the NASDAQ can defend this level, I'm interested in that upside continuation. I'm sure there are a lot of shorts that are sort of in this position, down in this area under 800, potentially getting out of positions here on a squeeze over this 14.8. So I'm interested, right? I'm keeping the position relatively light. I know it's still very early in trying to catch a reversal here, but this is the first sign of something, and I'm going to take a little shot here, right? Something that I really don't lose sleep over, but I'm interested in this technical setup. So keep an eye on this into tomorrow, guys. We're going to obviously go over this in the pre-market live stream. We'll see how this opens up tonight. But that is an interesting 14.8 break and retest, something that I would be watching into the end of week. I hope you guys did enjoy those live trades that I shared with you today. You guys can see just sort of entering into that NVIDIA put. And this entire trade was based off of a technical level on the NASDAQ, a technical level on NVIDIA, and just trusting my levels, right? I had to have trust in the levels that I set myself up with. I had to have trust in my game plan, and I had to execute it when I started to see it set up. So guys, if you learned something from today's video, make sure to press that like button, subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy the content. If you want to trade live with me on a daily basis, that live recording you heard today was straight from our voice chat. Make sure to check out the link down in the description below. Thank you guys again for all the support, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.